Hello, everybody. My name is BDF44, and I want to talk about the acquisition of Christian Wood for the Houston Rockets. I really like this signing. Why do I like this signing so much? Because if you guys are watching my videos, there was one video where I mentioned that if you wanted Westbrook, not Westbrook, Kyrie Irving and James Harden to work, two players that really bounce the ball and keep the ball in their hands and all that good stuff. KD can he can get 40 without really having the ball like that, just like Clay can. KD can just catch it and score and go. But some guys need to pound it. Kyrie and Harden are like that. Well, of course, Harden and Westbrook are similar. I think that the fit is equally as bad. And when I look at Kyrie Irving and I look at Westbrook, the dynamic that they create versus Harden on the same team is pretty much the same thing. So I think what they would need to make it work is pretty much the same thing. What I think the Nets are going to need if they were to get James Harden is the same thing I think would really help the Houston Rockets if they don't make any trade. And that's exactly what Christian Wood is. He is the solution to what that dynamic is, which is two guys bouncing the ball like madmen, going crazy, but not really allowing the ball to move a lot, not a whole lot of flow. What a power forward who can stretch the floor and create and do his own thing can do for guys like that is make it so that they're not as necessary. What that means is, if it gets to a point where Kyrie's being too selfish, or in this case Westbrook's being too selfish, he can sit his ass down and Christian Wood can come in and work. That's what they need, because what you don't want to be is too reliant upon two players that are going back and forth with one another. My turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. I'm going to shoot 3 times, you're not. I'm going to shoot 3 times, you're not. The solution to that is a third or fourth star. In the Nets situation, it would be a fourth star, because I don't believe that KD would be the solution, because you don't really know what KD you're getting back with the Achilles injury. So I'm looking at him as a to be determined, and it's a Harden and Irving show, and you need someone who can do something to make it so that those two aren't going nutty and it being your only options. So Christian Wood creates a dynamic for the Houston Rockets that gives them that very thing. He's going to be down there doing what he does, getting better and better. He broke out last year like crazy, put up all-star numbers. And then ended up getting COVID, got over that, and now he's ready to rock. He became a free agent right at the right time, right after Blake breaking out. And now he was able to sign a nice little contract. I don't think it was for a lot, really, but it was a nice, healthy contract with the Houston Rockets, a team that, worst case scenario, they keep James Harden and Westbrook, and he has to find his way with those guys. Best case scenario, they trade both of those guys and he's a part of a team that he can showcase his talent on. Either way, it's a great spot for Christian Wood. Great spot for Christian Wood. And it wouldn't have been one on my list, to be honest with you. When I said that he can change the landscape of things, I didn't have the Rockets in mind at all. But now that he's landed there, I love the spot for him. And I love the spot for James Harden and Russell Westbrook if they're not able to get traded. I love it for those two guys, because he's going to be their third option. And he's a damn viable one. And he's something in the paint that they didn't have last year. Not only did they not have a center, they didn't have really a power forward, to be honest. With respects to PJ Tucker, he's not that. He's not going to give you what you need there. Christian Wood will give you what you need there. So I love that signing for them. And I wanted to just come here and talk about it. You know, he's a long player, 4. He can shoot the 3. He can dunk a little bit. He plays a little defense. He moves around. He's wiggly a little bit. You know, he's not a creator like a guard kind of guy, but he's somebody who can really put up a lot of points and get you some boards and just do the things that you want your power forward to do in this age. Stretch the floor some, things like that. He can do those things. So it's a fantastic future play for the Houston Rockets. If ever there was a good decision to make in the name of rebuilding, it would be to sign a guy like that to a healthy and affordable contract, which is what they did. Now, I think the cap kind of saved them from themselves because they couldn't really afford to overpay him because they didn't have it to give because of Westbrook and Harden. But I think they will be happy, very, very happy that they signed him to that particular contract because it's going to be also easy to move if they have to move it. You know, now with Christian Wood, you can legitimately trade him for a draft pick. You can legitimately trade him for a couple players and get back some depth if it comes to that. Now, if you're asking me, hell no, I'm not trading Christian Wood at that contract because it is a good contract. And it's the type of contract where you put it in the right situation and it could be the difference between a championship and not. Just simply because the player is so productive and it's so affordable. So you got to really appreciate that. I feel the same way about Montrez's contract. It's healthy all the way around. So long as guys stay healthy, of course. So yeah, that's what I want to say. I just want to get over here and just say congratulations, Christian Wood, for not only breaking out, but getting a payday and landing in a good spot for yourself. Even though the Houston Rockets appear to be in disarray, your timeline does not win now, so it does not matter. Whatever road they're on, you can just ride it with them. And absolute worst case scenario, you just got to continue to deal with those two guys. And you will be winning. See, the worst case scenario involves you winning more. That's what makes it so awesome about the Houston Rockets. We know that regardless of how bad Westbrook and Harden no longer want to play with each other, we know what we're going to get out of them. And most importantly, they know what they're going to get out of each other. So even though they anticipate hating playing with each other this year, I actually think the Houston Rockets will be better this season if they make no moves. Because this is what ends up happening a lot of times. Players go through stuff and they think they know what they're going to go through next. But the thing about it was, last year, Westbrook and Harden had to learn to play with one another again with these newfound roles. And even though they didn't enjoy it and they got bounced in the second round, they didn't get bounced in the second round because those two players couldn't play with one another. They got bounced in the second round because they were doing some strange experimental crap with their roster. The reality is, Westbrook played great in the bubble for a little while. He played great, not in the bubble, before the bubble. Before COVID, he was playing great with a healthy James Harden. They figured it out. It was low key. Nobody remembers it, really, but they did. So, while James Harden's trying to get traded to another situation that doesn't fit, that he has to get reacclimated to, he's already in a situation that doesn't fit that he is acclimated to. So there should be something in his head telling him that basketball-wise, this isn't probably going to be as bad as it was last year. It's just not. And you picked up an all-star power forward. That's something on the roster you didn't have last year. That's something you didn't have last week when you were considering trading up out of there. All I'm saying is, if you can't get to Brooklyn, James Harden, staying in Houston is probably the best decision right now. Don't ask them to trade you to some random situation because you are such a unique player that not only do you need to get acclimated to wherever system you go to, but the players who are there have to get used to playing with you. Houston, that is not the case. That's not the case. So the more and more I think about this, the more I realize the best place for James Harden to play next season probably is the Houston Rockets with Russell Westbrook now that they picked up Christian Wood. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I'll probably listen back to this thing, maybe disagree with myself, depending on how things go. But right now, I just feel like the West has gotten significantly weaker because everybody's fleeing from LeBron, freeing from, they're trying to get out of here. They don't want to be here with AD and LeBron. You're not beating them. So guys are leaving to the Eastern Conference, and a team like the Rockets can make the playoffs. The way I see it, the Rockets can make it, especially with Golden State having the Clay injury. They're out of it. I mean, they may even make the playoffs, but they're in the mix as opposed to being one of us. Nuggets, Lakers, Clippers. I don't even think are in the mix like that either. I don't see nothing about that roster that's special outside of them two stars. Especially if Lou Williams over the top and over the hill, whatever. If he's too old, I don't see nothing over there worth looking at. So I think they're out, low key. I think they'll make the playoffs, but they're 7th seed and they're out. So you got to understand that the landscape it's opening up. Anthony Edwards, you don't know if Anthony Edwards changes life for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nobody's even thinking about that, really. If he goes up there and is a rookie of the year, suddenly they're a playoff team. Because they're not relying upon Karl Towns to play well in order to lead. So who knows? Maybe Anthony Edwards is that great and suddenly we're looking at an entirely different situation. But I think the Rockets are in a much better spot right now than they were last week or last season. And I know they would love to have Westbrook off their books. If they can get a trade for Westbrook, they're really in the money. But if they can't, I still think that they look better to me right now than they did last season around this time. So that's what I got to say. My name is BDF44. Thanks for watching. I'm out.